Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm an alcoholic. Hi, family. I am really grateful to have been asked. And thank you, Anthony, for asking me and saying kind things. My sobriety date is December the 28th, 2016. I have a sponsor and I do have a home group. This is my home group, and then I have an in-person home group. I've been on 5D, I think maybe like 3 or 4 years now. It was like at least 1.5, 2 years before COVID. So like I fell in love with this meeting pretty early on. It was the first time I came on, and they had a business meeting right after, and I was like, okay, I'll stay. And then I got a position. They were doing positions. I was like, okay, I'll get one. And that was a fucking mess, but this has become like my safe place. And I really and truly hope that if you're new on here, if this is just like your second, third, fourth meeting and you haven't felt connected to anyone in the room yet, like keep coming. It's a gift that this meeting meets every single night now. Like we didn't have that. We had Monday and Wednesday, and we started doing like pop-up meetings through COVID because we were like, fuck, we need help now. And now it's grown, and it's just, I'm happy every time I see new faces on here. So welcome. And please hang out with us after. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it was like and what it's like now. I'm going to try to speak fast because I don't want to go like too over time. I started doing drugs and drinking, I mean, solid forms of alcohol, when I was about 12 or 13. And it wasn't like something that people peer pressured me into. They weren't like, you have to do this or you're not cool. Like I just had this thought in my heart that, oh my God, I think I should go through my dad's medicine cabinet and find things and look it up on Google and say, does blank make you high, over and over and over again, and then steal the ones that make me high? Because like I kind of think that'd be fun. This is unrelated, but like my first addiction when I was a kid was like sugar packets when I was 5. Like I used to steal them from the restaurants and eat them at night. And then I started cutting at 11, and that was like definitely an addiction. And I say this because I feel that I was born an alcoholic. It was like always just, it just made sense that more is better. If a little is good, then more is going to be really good. And not everyone is like that. Like I understand that, some people go out on binges and then they're like, this wasn't my life in the past, but it's my fucking life now. And that's cool too. And like, I was told if when you drink and try to control it, you can't enjoy it. Or when you try to enjoy it and you can't control it, like that is a good sign you could be an alcoholic. And that was me with everything. So I started off like seeking it out. And then over time, I just ended up blacking out every single night. And it wasn't like a quick thing. It wasn't like as soon as I took one, I was off to the races. Off to the races was like pretty steady. It was a good, like looking back, it was a really good uphill thing. And I loved when my sponsor had me do a drunkalog and help me understand that like I started off just stealing a few pills, and then started off like sneaking a few swigs of vodka from my parents' cabinets. And then I ended up a few years later waking up to an alarm that had me take a solid form of alcohol 10 minutes before my feet hit the floor because I couldn't not be high. And it basically determined everything in my life. If you don't drink and you don't do drugs, you're a fucking loser. And I don't want to be friends with you. And I'm that cool girl. I just am, I just want to drink all the time, and I want to have fun with my friends, and I don't want to like study. It's just not as interesting. I would rather get high before I go study. I would rather not go to that study group. I would rather go out. I'd rather sneak out. I'd rather lie to my parents and, not be a good friend, because they don't need to know how much alcohol I have, because that's for me and not them. So I very quickly ended up with no friends, no trust from my parents, no good outlooks for college. Like I was failing pretty badly. I was a lifeguard at the time. And so I used to get high before I'd get up on the stand, and didn't get found out about that one. But I did get drunk before one time, and I fell off the stand and like twisted my ankle. And I tried to be off for it. And they were like, they're going to drug test you if you want workers' comp. And I'm like, no, I can walk just fine. So everything fell apart like quickly for me. And at 17, I had a rude awakening when I was at Thanksgiving. Obviously, I can't really remember that well, but I think it was Thanksgiving. And my uncle, who is just one of those people that is like so internally kind for no matter what. Like he was always my biggest advocate, not a bad bone in his body. At 35, he came out to us as gay, and we live in Mississippi, so this was a very, very difficult thing for him to do. I had been drinking a lot that night, and I was going back and forth to the bathroom and like sneaking alcohol. I was like, they have no idea. Like they have no idea that I'm drunk. So like I had this whole system where I'd hang out for 10 minutes and I'd like, play around, and then I would go run back to the bathroom. Oh, I've got to pee, guys. Be right back. And then down it and then come back out. And he had us sit on this couch forever, and he took forever to come out, of course. But I was getting very impatient, and I was like, Scott, what the fuck do you want? Like, what do you want from us? And I started like being really, really rude to him, because I was so incoherent. I couldn't understand what he was trying to say. And I quite frankly didn't care, because all I cared about was that the alcohol's in the bathroom. I need to go right now. And then it hit me like, oh, wow, he's coming out to us. And after I was totally rude to him, I started bawling my eyes out, made it all about myself. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe I did that. And like made it all about myself. And then I passed out on the couch. And that was his like moment that I stole. It wasn't even like when I woke up, it came to me, and it's not like I went to him and made amends. Like that was so rude of me and wrong of me. Like I woke up and I was mad at some more people because they like went to the store without me. And I was thinking, why would you do that? So I picked a fight. And that weekend, like I remember my parents talking to me, and that was when, I don't know why it was that moment. I don't know. That was my moment of clarity that stuck. And I don't believe that we have rock bottoms. Like I understand that's a cool thing to say. I personally don't believe in it, because rock bottom to me is death for us as alcoholics. Jails, you can get out of jail and go drink. Institutions, you can go drink after rehab. That's fine. If you're dead, you're dead. And then it's not called a rock bottom. It's called a tragedy. And so like that night, I was given this moment of clarity that I've hurt the one person in my life that has done nothing against me, has only loved me since the day I was born. And I decided to go take a break and go to rehab. And luckily for me, I had people around me. My aunt is also in the program, and she was kind enough to, not push me and not have expectations for me. And she was available enough to me where she was there when I needed her. And so I was just going to go take a break. I went to rehab, and it was an adolescent rehab. I was 17, and I just remember like seeing all the people there and being like, oh my God, I'm so much better than them. Like there was a girl like running out to the gas station to get drugs. Like one girl cut herself like top to bottom in the bathroom. And I'm like, no, I'm in the wrong place. And I remember sitting with my therapist and telling her like, I'm in the wrong place. And she was like, nope, you look just like everybody here. Like you're in the right place. You've got no trust in your life. You don't have much to live for. You're a total bitch. Nothing's looking good for you at all. And I just was hyperventilating there and like bawling my eyes out. And she just kept like going at it. Like, you're only going to get worse. You're an alcoholic, and if you to drink is to die. And like, I don't know. I think I got scared, and I thank her. Like, not that doesn't work for everyone, but she was put into my life at the right time. And like, I wasn't ready to be sober, but I was not ready to die either. And so I just kept doing the things that people told me. And when I got out of rehab, they told me, go to a meeting, get a sponsor, start working the steps. And so I was like, cool. So I go to this meeting. It's a lot of older people. I'm like tweeny bopper, like walking in that meeting. And they're like, it's like a 5:30, and they just come from work, and they're like, this is just part of my life. And I share something beautiful. Like my share was just so poetic. I just like the rain. Like even when it rains, it reminds me of liquor. And, how is it that I want to drink more at night than I did an hour ago when there was sun out? Like, just so beautiful and stupid. And it didn't matter because every single one of them at the end of the meeting, all those women came up to me. It was like they were in a line to meet me. And they gave me this little book with all their names on it. And each of them had like put like a star or like a heart or, cursive or whatever. And they came up to me, each one of them, and was like, hey, we love you and we loved your share. And, you know, dumbest share ever, but like they welcomed me with open arms. They were like, God, I related. Like, I relate to how you feel and you're not alone. And just each of them like giving me a new phrase as they walked by. And here's my number with a star on it. Here's my number with a heart on it. And I picked a woman that night to sponsor me, and she reminded me of my mother. So I was like, that makes sense. And that did not make sense. She was not, it wasn't the vibe at the time. Like, didn't work out. She was doing her best. But 3 months later, I'd stayed sober. She wasn't like the most organized sponsor in the world or like had anything together, but she took me through the steps. And that's like all that matters. I got a new sponsor and started working the steps with her. And I still had this feeling like if I don't find young people in sobriety, like I can't do it anymore. That was my one thing. That was my thing out. And I think a lot of people come in, and I say that because I've, people shares and everything. Like, I think a lot of people come in and they think, if my parents die, I'm drinking. If I get married, I'm drinking. If something happens to my child, if my house burns down, I'm drinking. Like, there's these like conditions. And I told somebody one day, I was like, if I don't find young people like me that are going in college, I'm going to drink. And they told me, like, any condition that you have has to be wiped away immediately. You cannot carry that. And so once I let that go, like, my parents had decided to move to DC, and I decided to go with them because my options were pretty much like go to Ole Miss, my dream college, and die, or go to DC and live with mommy and daddy. So like I played it safe. Best decision ever. And I found so many young people. And this is not going to relate to everyone in this room. And when I say like I found young people, what I'm trying to communicate is that like sobriety had something for me that I didn't think I would have sober, whatever that is for you. And for me at the time, it was young people sober. And sobriety gave me that. And like I still have these other conditions, like if something happens to my parents, I'm going to drink. And like that's been in the back of my head. And now my dad has dementia and he is passing. I've got a very short amount of time with him and I'm sober and I have not thought about drinking. Other things like there's no way I can go back to school and be sober. And I'm in school. I've gotten my bachelor's. I'm in my MBA program right now. I've made grades that like I'm shocked by because people told me treat it like AA, like show up early, stay late, meet people in your class. I've grown up in the rooms is what I'll say now. That's just how I feel. Like everything I know is from AA, it feels like. And everything I know not to do is from my drinking. And like I feel, like a hole has been filled from that. I have found oh my God, if I could go on about the higher power shit, like I remember they told me you need a God. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to get sober then. Cause like I'm an atheist. And like, I really, really struggle with that. And I'm laughing because like the desperation, the like, there's no way that there's a route for me. And there was a route for me. Like all I needed to do was get with someone one-on-one that I could understand and that I could hear. That's what I need at all times. There are going to be people in my life that have great things to say, but it doesn't matter if I can't hear them. Sponsorship is part of that for me. I remember I was so afraid. I was with a sponsor for a really long time and probably longer than I should have been. And I couldn't hear her anymore. Like she was saying seemingly great things, but like I had built a resentment. Like I couldn't follow her direction. And I was so afraid to switch. And when I finally gave it to God and did switch, like I found someone that I could hear. And I make that point because it's important that like we're sponsored by people that we can understand. And it's important that we're told that sponsors' only job is to take us through the steps and to put our hand in our higher power's hand, and that's it. And if that's not happening, then like we need a new person. I sponsor now, gratefully. It's the best part of my sobriety because I'll be like having a day, like a real hard day, and it's all about me because it always is. And then I'll see whoever's name pop up on my phone calling me to tell me about them. And I will literally sometimes, I'm gonna say it, I will feel like, oh my God, not right now. Just I can't right now. Like this is going to be, hard, but I do it anyways because that's a habit that AA has helped me develop. And when I do it, and when I hear that girl and I hear about her struggles and she tells me about her day and about what she's struggling with, like my problems vanish. It's the most amazing thing. Like, who would have thought? Because my selfish brain tells me that rationally, if I have a problem, I need to fix it. Right? If I have a problem, it's my responsibility to control it. But AA says, no, it's not. You can't control shit. And why don't you think about anybody else but yourself? And it works. And I don't know how this program works, but it does. The last thing I'll say is like, oh my God, life does not get easier in sobriety. Like, it does not. I've had a good number of deaths these last 2 years and a lot of stress. And I think like 1 year into sobriety, I had to look at like self-harm. 2nd year into sobriety, I was looking at an eating disorder. 4th year, I was looking at grief. Now this year around, I'm looking at workaholism, which is why I'm late. Oops. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. And I'm sorry. Oh no, I'm not sorry. I was wrong. I should have been on time. But like that's the beautiful thing about it is I don't feel like oh, woe is me. If there's a problem in my life, then that's my opportunity for growth. If I have no problems, then my spiritual life is probably not good. I'm probably not giving anything away, and I might not be looking at myself at all. I'm really grateful to be here again. And I just want to say to the new people, stick around, like hang out, even if you don't want to. I went to so many meetings and just bitched. Like I would just be like, I'm Sarah, I'm an alcoholic. I hate this. And that reading was stupid. And like almost like someone had literally physically forced me to be there, but I actually showed up. Like I drove to the meeting. And if that's you, like I want to hear, like, tell me what's stupid. That's cool because I probably agree with you. And oh my God, this is my favorite part of this is going to be my topic, but you can talk about whatever you want. This is at the bottom of, this is at the end of Bill's story. I earnestly advise every alcoholic to read this book through and through. Perhaps he came to scoff. He may remain to pray. Thank you guys for having me.